Well, we're 37 minutes in. I'm checking on the mic. Yeah, okay, cool. So it looks like we have three folks. Three of them could be bots. So, oh God, where do I begin? So the purpose of this, for me personally, was to share some of my perspectives that I've gained over the years of fishing, and specifically from 2010 to 2022, about 12 years, when I moved back from California to Northwest Connecticut and accidentally got bit very hard by the pike and musky bug. And, obviously smallmouth is included in that, but, and kind of tell you my journey. I may keep this recorded and post it later. So if you're listening, I'll put it in the comments. It's about 37 minutes in. I start talking. This is my first live stream, I guess you would call it. So whether it be on any platform, well, no, maybe I think I did one on Instagram back in like 2019 or 2020 for a minute. But so just was setting it up. So I apologize if anybody popped in and just saw my note. So I just wanted to share my journey, my perspective. I've been about 2.5 years, almost 3 years removed from the game of living up in Northwest Connecticut, and going out to Wisconsin every fall. So I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my pike and musky journey. Had some laughs, had some tears, had some cringes, just reflecting on it. But I think I gained a lot of perspective in these 2.5, 3 years that I just felt it's been calling me to share this with everybody. And like I said in maybe one of my posts on Instagram, like, if one person's here and it helps them, great. If no one ends up showing up, that's fine too. So, but there's things that perspectives I've gained that I think would be very impactful for your life and for your fishing career, or passion, or, whatever part of fishing and pike and musky or any types of fishing that matter goes into your heart, and how often you do it or how often you want to do it. And basically some of the stuff I'd like to share is really kind of how I created a life around that. And I'll end my little preview with, I think it was more of a spiritual journey than anything else. And I don't mean that from a religious context. I just mean that from a soul's journey, a soul's perspective. We get so tunnel vision in our day-to-day lives, and so tunnel vision in, the end result, that I think, myself included, and believe me, I'll share some of that. You kind of get derailed from, like, the strength that you carry within your heart and your head and your soul and your passion, and how you create your own reality. So I'll get into some of that. So some of it's going to be a little tactical. Some of it's going to be esoteric, I guess it might be the right word, or spiritual in a way. And then there is the live chat. I guess I've never done this before, but you could put a comment in the live chat or questions and stop me at any time. And again, if you're listening to this on recording, it's going to start a little slow, I think. Just bear with me if this speaks to you at all. I think there's going to be some really good gems in here. And I kind of advertised it as it's kind of some secrets that most people don't talk about. And that wasn't really like a hook to get you to listen or get you to come here. Because like I said, this is for one person or just for myself to kind of document this. I thought it was really important. So, I guess we will almost say somewhat of a, autobiography, but with some really good, that I found really good secrets to my success. Being a fisherman since I was about 4 or 5 years old. My dad first took me fishing, all the way to, winning the Treelands fly fishing musky tournament the first year I'd entered, with one partner, Kyle Sorensen, who's out in Wisconsin. If you're ever looking for a trip out there, hit up Kyle. He's amazing. And having record days when other guides or other fishermen were just blanking out. although I did blank out, obviously. But I went on streaks during certain parts of the seasons where most people couldn't get a fish in the boat, and we were doing okay. I've had times when people were doing okay, and I did shitty sometimes, but it seemed to be more so. It seemed to be more so the opposite. It seemed to be more so the successes were outweighing the zeros. Like one thing I will say for anybody that's new to the fly fishing, muskie sport or Esox sport or pike, watch Brad Bowen's film Zero to Hero. I think that paints the perfect picture of this journey. I don't think anybody has done it better since, in my opinion. Brad was very instrumental in my growth in chasing Esox and having a perspective about it. I mean, Brad Bowen is a legend in my mind. He's still a legend, and I know he's not in the business anymore. There's some things that happened to him or personally that things that he decided to do that didn't work out. I'm not going to get into that, but I owe him a lot of gratitude for what he did for me and the journey. So yeah, and so I'll get into it. I do have some flies that I brought. This is courtesy of my wife's this idea, and we'll get into some technical stuff tonight. But just the single hook Gamakatsu B10S. This is like one of the bigger ones, I think it is, or I forget what this one is. It's a decent sized hook. Not used to using the camera here, but just a single hook with some feathers, some flash, reverse bucktail, and just a quick spun head. I mean, this thing is not that big. I mean, here's my hand, not that big. And this is a great size pike and musky fly. I watched people catch 45, 40-inch musky on this, 30 to 38-inch pike on these, even 40-inch pike. So size doesn't always matter, guys. But this is one fly that I truly love. It's a good go-to fly for kind of just having a castability all day. When you're throwing an 7 or 8, 9, 10 weight, 11 weight, 12 weight, we used to throw 12 weights a lot. But this is a good like 8 to 10 weight fly where you don't have to beat up your arm all day, easy to cast, and boy, does it work. So, and then obviously you have your more bigger articulated flies. If you go to my YouTube channel, which you're on now, there's I have a how-to that I think it's got up to 41,000 views, which I can't believe that. Jeff, I always forget Jeff's last name. Jeff helped me put this together. I'll think of it in a second. Thank you, Jeff. When we put that video together, he filmed it and edited it. And this is, the typical, back end single hook. It's basically the same design as this, but not as much material with the O-ring or circle, whatever we would just call those. Wow, I'm rusty. And then with a barrel swivel attached to a shank that I used to make. I used to spin all my own shanks, and then some reverse tie. And this color pattern was one of my favorites, all-time favorites. This is like the perch pattern where you've got yellows and oranges and a little black, and then obviously the feathers that have that like kind of perch stripe, and then with a little bit of white, a little bit more orange and black. I mean, this perch, I call it a perch pattern. This thing was lights out. This fly right here actually this fly probably has dozens of muskies on it, and I still have it. So that's a great fly. And then, this is one of my other favorite color patterns. So this fly right here this thing is a legend. And there's some guys out there up in Maine that I fished with a lot, in Connecticut and out in Wisconsin, that this fly right here, I had to redo the tail literally twice because of all the material getting ripped off from muskies' mouths in one fall out in Wisconsin. But this simple fly right here in this color pattern, white, pink over white. Yeah, pink over white. Nothing crazy about it. This fly right here. I mean, I gotta believe that week we caught 10 muskies on this, and then we had to redo the tail, and then we caught a handful of other ones, and then we retired it. But this color pattern and this color pattern, by far, the best success that I've had. And then, like I was saying, even that color pattern or this pattern here has been amazing. And then obviously you got your poppers, which I used to love to spin these in the winter for top water, for pike and musky, even smallmouth. Little big for smallmouth, but they worked. And this is just a simple reverse tie, some feathers, some flash, and then packing some deer here and go bloop, 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 bloop. This thing's been amazing. So there's just some basic fly stuff. But since I'm on the subject, I wanted to talk about flies for a minute. So flies, it's a hobby. That's the way I look at it. It's a hobby. It's a passion. It's as Brad Bowen said it in Zero to Hero. It's a way to take the fishing off the water and into your home and your friend's house and your living room and fly tying nights and all that fun stuff. So it keeps the imagination going. And I'm going to go into that tonight. That's kind of part of the magic that I wanted to share with you guys about our imaginations and how I deliberately manifested certain things on the water or in my life. But basically, I'm going to focus on the water tonight about how I deliberately created things through my imagination, my intention, my expectation, and my belief. And that's some of the stuff I wanted to share tonight that I think you guys you'll know it, but do you really consciously kind of make it part of your repertoire of everyday life? And I think this is where I might lose people. And if that's fine, this message isn't for you, then that's totally cool. Still love you and wish you all the best in the world. But flies, people always just say, oh, what flies hot? What flies hot? So, and I would answer that question. And you guys talk about it all the time. That's one of the biggest conversations, right? Whether you're trout fishing, smallmouth fishing, steelhead fishing, saltwater fishing, pike and musky specifically, I'm going to talk about tonight. But, it's a belief. So if you have a belief in a fly, if you have confidence in a fly, hands down, that takes precedence over almost anything as far as the technical aspect of it. So, this is a little tip that I would like to share tonight. I took some notes. I'm probably not even going to follow them, but one of the tips that I could share with you about flies is, if you're buying flies, that's one thing. A lot of people just buy flies but they can make requests from the people who tie them. So you can get certain patterns you like in certain styles, or if you're tying them yourselves, or if you don't really give a shit, that's fine too. Because you just got to get the fucking fly in the water and it'll work out most of the time. But you want to how do we get from like average to exceptional, right? That's what I want to share. Like, how do you take your fishing experiences on the water from average to exceptional, and then average to exceptional in a joyful way, right? Like in actually a fun way, not a stress, like all this stress on my shoulders, all this stress on me that I have to catch a fish because I only have a Saturday to go out once a month or once a week. So, how do you go from average to exceptional with, and making it enjoyable, right? And having fun out there with your friends or yourself or, whoever you fish with. So I got a little off track there, but what I would say for flies is, every body of water has certain food that the predator fish eat, right? So when I was on the Housatonic River in Connecticut, there was a lot of yellow perch. There was a lot of sunfish in the river. There was smallmouth, obviously, and suckers, but a big part of that was yellow perch. So this pattern worked time and time again. So what I figured out was, and then obviously, this could imitate some type of, shiner or some type of pond shiner, because those were in there too. Certain types of, like kind of minnow type fish, and even suckers, because when fish see your fly in the water, they don't see it the same colors that we see it. So it's weird, and I think that's why pink over white works so well, especially in Wisconsin, because the tannin stained water and the way it made it glow a little bit and light up, it really looked like a red horse sucker, in my opinion. This fly was a red horse sucker in Wisconsin, even though it's white, even though it's pink. The way it showed up in that tannin stained water, it was very similar to a white horse sucker. So you kind of want to match the hatch a little bit, obviously. And then this is where like the kind of belief and that superstition, some people label it superstitious. I do too, but I kind of also label it as a belief, right? So if if you believe in your flies, if you have confidence in your flies, and we'll get into that later, but a little bit more about what I wanted to share about the secret of all this, is find that hatch a little bit, match that hatch a little bit, dial a fly in that you think works really well and swims really well, and just go at it. And if you start getting a little bit more success, what I was doing was, as I was getting, and not just me, my clients, most importantly, as I saw them getting success and I was getting confidence in these flies because they weren't in my boat every day. I had other people shuffling in and out, or then you get repeat customers and they'd be like, hey, where's that white, pink over white fly? So, as I was getting more success with a certain pattern, so a color pattern, and then the actual design of the fly to all the different designs, I was dialing the fly. So I was watching it swim. I would cast it throughout the day while the fishermen would cast it just to see it swim. I was watching it swim, and I was seeing, can they cast it easy? Is it castable? When you're stripping it through the water, does it dance? When it gets eaten 3 or 4 times, is it holding up? So then I would dial the fly on there. Like, okay, you know what? That has too many feathers. That has too much bucktail. It's kind of floating. It's not sinking fast enough, or it's sinking too fast, and I'm fishing 5 feet of water most of the time. So I want to add some deer here, some bucktail to the fly to just make it levitate, like suspend a little bit more. So those are the things that I would do constantly with my flies. And then once I got that thing dialed in, like this exact pattern, right? That's on my YouTube channel, how to, this exact pattern with this color, these colors, and the weight of it, the size of it, the bulk of it, like it was just lights out. It was just like, the confidence went through the roof. Your confidence, my confidence with my customers, I couldn't tell you how many times I had clients that said, hey, can we change the fly like in the first 20 minutes? I'm like, no, dude, just stick with this for a second. Just trust me. Let's see how it goes. Or, I kind of would say that. Let's see how it goes. Just give it a little bit more. Bam, fish, bam, fish. Dude's like, I'm not taking that fly off. So sometimes I had to hold my ground and my confidence in what I saw day in and day out of the water. So that's a little bit of some insight to flies. It's a big topic. I don't claim to know everything about flies, or even specifically pike and musky flies. I know the game has been changing in the last 3 years since I've been out of the game. I've been paying attention to all you guys, by the way, on social media. I'm happy for you all that are doing really well. But the just keep it simple, man. Like we get a paralysis by analysis, and with pike and musky, the fish of 10,000 casts, which we're going to talk about that's going to be one of my secrets, how to turn it from 10,000 casts to maybe 10 casts, or maybe 100 casts, or 50 casts. So the minute we start overthinking this, the minute you're just out of your vortex, you're out of your comfort zone, you're just totally disconnected, you're in your head, you're stressed, you're anxious. You've got to get rid of the stressed and anxious when you're on the water. And I'm going to share with that tonight a little bit about that. That's going to be my magic sauce. And like I said, if I get 2 people that hear this and it helps, that's great. And feel free to pop some questions in the live chat if you'd like. So that's a little bit about flies. Again, if anybody's watching this, you go back to minute, I think it was 37. I started because I started the live stream just to kind of set it up the first time doing this. Oh. And if anybody is listening, I really appreciate you all being here, man. It means a lot. So, I'm going to just do a few technical things. So that's a little bit about flies. The other thing I want to talk to you about is sunglasses, right? So, the reason why sunglasses are huge is for the figure 8, right? So and I actually work for a sunglass company now, Costa Del Mar here in Florida. And this is not an advertisement for them at all. There's many companies that make this stuff. But I think sunglasses, a lot of people do know about the importance of polarity, have polarization in the water. I got to put my old man glasses on. Rick Teeny, you got to be kidding me, buddy. I love you. I'm going to say hi to Rick. Hi, Rick. One of my very passionate friends out in Wisconsin, Rick. Oh my God, I haven't talked to Rick in years. You guys are gonna make me cry, Rick. We got a couple. I got my glasses. I'm getting old. Oh, what up, Kat? That's awesome. How are you? So the other thing I want to talk about was sunglasses. So again, I kind of talked a little bit about the first 5 minutes was a little bit about why I'm doing this. I just talked about flies, and I hope what you take away from my fly dissertation is is get out of your head and get in your heart and in your belief systems and your passions, and don't overanalyze the flies. And again, on my YouTube channel, the one how to tie that articulated fly, that is this pattern. Just go with that. And what I said earlier. Okay, so we're talking about sunglasses quick before we get into the other magic sauce that I wanted to talk about, which is what I think is the real secret to success on the water and in life. I'm not going to go into the whole life thing and be Tony Robbins. I could, because I've been through a lot in my life, and I've tried to always pay attention to my personal growth. But anyway, so how do you go from average, right, to exceptional on the water? So one tool, totally underrated, I think. In living in Florida now, it's all people talk about. Not all. When you talk to a fisherman, and because you're doing a lot of sight fishing in Florida, people are always looking at what sunglasses you use. You got Costa, you got Maui Jim, or you use what's the other brands? There's a couple other big brands. But so what I want to talk about is lens colors. So I didn't know this. I mean, I knew a little bit about this, but since I started working for Costa, and again, this is not an advertisement for them. You can go to any sunglass company. I'm going to show you. So this is a green mirror frame. It's a amber. I don't know how to do this. It's an amber. Well, I'm dyslexic. It's an amber lens with a green mirror, right? This is a gray lens with a blue mirror. And there's the reason for this. I'm showing you this. This is a women's pair, but this is what we call our version, Costa's version of a low light. Oh, Smith is the other company. They make great sunglasses too. So these are the low lights. So where can I see? Okay, so you could see how you could see really pretty much right through them almost with a little bit of a tint, and then these obviously much darker, right? So what I want to show you is. And then there's obviously ones that are just copper, and I have a pair of those somewhere, but those are great too. But anyways, so what happens is the difference between the blue and the green mirror is blue. That's the opposite. Blue is it lets in less light. So you have the gray interior, and then the blue mirror, it lets in less light, but what it does is it enhances the shit out of the contrast. So then, and you could go to most major brand websites and look at the colors and what they mean and how it enhances light, how it blocks out blue light, how it enhances the greens and knocks out the reds, and how it just brings everything to life. So that's the difference between lets in less light, lets in a bit more light, but the polarization and the technology in between the two pieces of glass is really where the money is. That's why they cost $250. And then you have, like I said, the super low lights. So with what, as me being on the water for 12 years for Pike and Musky, living in New England, and then fishing out in Wisconsin, as you know, in Florida, it's sunny 300 days a year down here, but maybe more. But in the Northeast and the Midwest, you know how it is. It's gloomy 90% of the year, which is why I left. One of the reasons why I left, Kate and I. So my go-to frame, believe it or not, was the low lights. So Costa calls them silver sunrise. I think Smith calls them low lights. I think there's whatever company brands, but these were my go-tos because in New England and Midwest, it was cloudy, sunny, cloudy, sunny, cloudy, but it was mostly cloudy most of the time. And then you're fishing early in the morning and later at night. So what I want to just say, I'm not trying to sell you on sunglasses, but I think it's one of the most underrated, not the most underrated. I think people should understand the importance of them more. Not only does it protect your eyes, because I'd have clients come in my boat, and I used to do it a lot too when I first started fishing when I was younger, and I never had eye protection. So, but what I found was I could probably tell you 30 stories where I had these low lights on, in a body of water, sun's already set, the water's dark or whatever, it's not muddy, but it's just dark or darker water. It's not the Florida Keys. And, and I would be staring at my fly as I'm figure eighting, like bring it in. And I was staring at it. I didn't take my eye off of it. And, a few times I literally just saw like an eyeball of a fish 1.5 feet to the right of the fly, or a foot to the right or underneath it, or and if I didn't have that polarization and I wasn't really focusing on that fly at that moment, I would have never caught that fish, or my client would have never caught that fish. And in the 12 years, I mean, that the success of putting that little combination together with the proper eyewear and focusing and paying attention and following your fly, I would say, I mean, man, 12 years, probably, let me see, let's say 2, 3 a month, maybe not more than that, probably like 5 a month, 10 a month, where it was like, holy shit, that worked. And we got a fish in the boat. So that's probably one of the best kept, not best kept secrets. I don't know what I'm saying. It's one of the things that's overlooked the most. And having 2 pairs of sunglasses in your boat with different lenses, I couldn't tell you how much that saved my life as well. Because all of a sudden it would get bright as shit, and sun's glaring. And if I have something that does not reflecting enough light, you're kind of glaring, you're kind of squinting, even with sunglasses on. So I would always switch over to my other go-to lens was the copper lens with the green mirror. And again, you could go to any big brand's website and it'll explain to you what the different colors mean: green, blue, and there's other colors too, but green and blue is all you really need to know, really, in my opinion. And having 2 pairs of glasses in the boat at all times, and switching, and carrying your case, so you don't lose them or put them in your boat bag and squash them, because I've done that before. And then I started having to obviously carry, the cases that come with these $250 sunglasses. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. And then let me see what's good. Oh, Mr. Huff, talk us about the tournament strategies as fly tourney season. Oh, that's awesome, Dave. Yeah. What's up, Mr. Huff? Mr. Huff was a big part of my journey. Rick, obviously, which I love, Rick and Dave. Yeah. So I saw that. It's so funny. I was telling talking to Kate tonight, and I was like, because I got on Instagram a little bit more this week as I was planning on doing this. And I was like, holy shit, like what's it called? The Wisconsin fly fishing tournament, Treelands. Yeah. So the Treelands, Dave. So that was my first year in 2017, when I did the tournament out in Wisconsin. Me and Kyle Sorensen won the thing, which is kind of part of the story I want to tell you tonight about the magic sauce that I want to share with everybody. But yeah, so that actually could lead in right into what I was going to talk about too. So let me just grab my notes here quick. As I said, this is going to be raw and unfiltered and not produced. Yeah. All right. So this is a good point, Dave. So this kind of goes into what I wanted to share tonight. So this is actually kind of perfect timing. The main part of what I wanted to share, and it is 9 o'clock. So I'm going to go for like another 20 or 25 minutes or so. I wanted to kind of do like an hour hard stop, and then if we want to do this again, if I decide to do this again. But yeah, so God, where do I start with that? This is pretty cool. I feel like I need a cigarette. So when I was 22, 23 years old, I was working for a company, this Japanese healthcare company, and I was surrounded by, this was back in 2099, 2000, 2001. Yeah, those 3 years. I was surrounded by a bunch of new age hippies, as we might have called them back then, where everything is not as new age now, right? A lot of the holistic stuff and spiritual stuff is way more accepted in today's social culture. But back then, you looked at like you had 4 heads if you were doing Reiki and getting what's that thing where they put the needles in you for your acupuncture, meditation. People looked at you like you had 4 heads. But I was surrounded by these people pretty much day in and day out. And I was about 22, 23 at the time. And they kind of took me under their wing, like their second son or nephew. So I was kind of surrounded by those people for a while. So this goes into the tournament, Dave. I'll tell the story about the tournament, about what I learned that early age in life around my spirituality, who I am, how the world works, not how the world works, but how we create our reality, how we literally manifest things. I know, like Dave, you have a great business. You've grown it. It all starts with a vision. Your vision then turns into a belief. Your belief turns into some taking action. Your action believes into passion, and then all of a sudden you have a business, right? So how do you create your own reality? That's kind of what the message I wanted to share with people tonight. So this was perfect timing to kind of go into this. So what I learned was in those 3 years was I was surrounded by all these really cool spiritual hippies. I said hippies, but that generation. I guess they'd be boomers these days. They taught me a lot about meditation. They taught me a lot about, in which I started practicing. They taught me a lot about, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and how you create your own reality. Everything from, your health to your mindset to your relationships to your finances to just daily interactions with people, your personal growth or lack of personal growth. And believe me, I went through some lack of personal growth in my life, where it kind of reset me and brought me back to my basics. But so going into that tournament, it was my 4th season out in Wisconsin. It was the first season that I was going to be in Wisconsin fly fishing and taking some of my customers from Wisconsin with Brad, hanging out and staying with Brad Bowen. And I was so jacked. It was like, that was probably the most passionate, joyous, like euphoric feeling driving out there for 2 days to get out there, just so freaking jacked up. Like it was Christmas. Recently went through a divorce. Was just focusing on myself, getting my life back in order, and was just heading over heels in Pike and Musky, driving out there. So going into that tournament, I was meditating. I know people might want to know, hey, what part of the river do you fish, or how do you go about it? Well, this is kind of like what I want to share with everybody tonight. That if I lose you, that's okay too. Still love you. But so I was visualizing. I was meditating and visualizing. And I was doing that a lot in my life in general, then, of things I wanted to manifest, things I wanted to create, how I wanted certain, even particular fishing events to unfold with a client the next day, or an upcoming fishing trip, or in this case was an upcoming tournament, which I was like, wow, this is a big deal. Like, little old Pogo, kind of new to the game, like not new, but new to the people, and kind of trying to just make my way in the Pike and Musky world. So I was meditating and visualizing what winning that tournament felt like. So I have a practice that I use, that I meditate for 15 minutes. I sit and breathe, and just focus on my breath. And I'm not going to go into a dissertation about how to meditate, because you could just go to YouTube and type in guided meditation, and there's 9 million of them, which I would suggest. So I always had meditation as a daily practice, and I like to do it after I have my coffee in the morning. So to answer your question, Dave, I was visualizing what it felt like to win that tournament. I literally, the week leading up to it, and I'll tell you the story about the morning of, actually, but the week leading up to it, when I would meditate, one of the things I threw in my mind as I was meditating and in that kind of like really serene state, I was visualizing what it felt like to win the tournament, being at Treelands, high-fiving people, getting the trophy, just celebrating with people, like, holy shit, we did it. This was so cool. And actually, dude, it from my visualizations to the actual end result, and I wish I had a picture here, which I think I do. I'll show you. It was almost to the T. It was like literally what I was visualizing. It was literally what I was focusing on, and what I expected. And we won it. I mean, obviously, I did take some of what I've learned 7 years prior with chasing Pike and Musky. We applied that to the 2 days. But I contribute 80% into having a belief, setting an expectation, having a belief, and then not stressing if it was going to happen or not. Just pure on bliss. Like, this is where I'm at. I'm living in the moment. This is what I set my intentions to be. And it fucking played out. Like, we were on the water that morning, Kyle and I, and dude, it was 5 casts in, no bullshit. 5 casts in, and I got like a 45 inch muskie. And it was a pig. It was a big, thick one. And Kyle netted it for me, and we just sat in the boat. We're like, holy shit, did that just happen? So we were like started out the day like high, really high. First 5 minutes, we got and this is Wisconsin. This is wild rivers. This is not like, musky fishing is always tough, but it wasn't like we were in a really like, had the whole day to spend the whole day in one little honey hole. Like some parts of the country, you could do that. Like when I used to fish out in Pennsylvania and New York at the Susquehanna, you could sit in a 100-foot stretch and just go up and down, and depending on the fish to eat, because they were kind of there. But this was, wild Wisconsin rivers. So that really started the day. And then to add to that, I'll never forget, man. Got up, had my coffee. I mean, I was up at 5, I think. It was still dark in Wisconsin. I hit a deer that morning. 2 deer I hit in 2 weeks out in Wisconsin. God bless the deer. I don't like that, but it happened. But I got up that morning and I had my coffee, had my cigarette. I was like, oh my God, like I don't even think I slept much the night before. I was so excited. And I visualized that I was meditating, and I was visualizing I'm driving to meet Kyle to put the boat in. It was still dark. It was about 6:30 in the morning, and I had the Humpty Dance playing. Anybody knows who fished with me? The Humpty Dance was one of our favorite songs. Superstitious, right? We had a couple good days on the water listening to that, so I kind of made it a thing. And when I had clients in my boat or friends in my boat or my car, my truck, and we were driving, I'm like, hey, man, you want to listen to a song that's been like really every time we play it, we catch fish? And they're like, yeah, of course, and then how we are, Musky and Pike, anything that we think is going to give us an edge. So I would crank the Humpty Dance and I would tell them that this is my lucky song. So already I'm setting an expectation in my energy and my energy field, so to speak, and what I'm attracting in my life. And so are my customers and friends. So they're like, well, this kid must know what he's talking about because he does this for a living. And well, if he believes it, I'm going to believe it too. And it worked. I couldn't tell you how many times that worked. So I was already setting the expectation. I wasn't coming in like, oh, okay, we got to fish here. We got to do this. My head's going to spin off my head because I don't know what fly to use. It's going to rain. It's not going to rain. The river's low. The river's high. It was like, no, fuck it, dude. We're doing the Humpty Dance. This song catches us fish. Let's do it. So I was listening to that on the way to meet Kyle, and I was blasting it. And I literally was singing and just in the moment, 6:30 in the morning, it's still dark, towing my boat. And, I was just visualizing it. And I was like, I practiced a speech. I swear to God, I practiced a speech of what I was going to say when I won the tournament. And don't you know, as they say in Wisconsin, don't you know, Pogo, that I almost said that word for word. And after reflecting on the Muskie tournament those 2 days, I sat back and I was like, holy shit, this really does work. Like I set my expectation. I visualized what it felt like. I put myself in the situation as if it happened already and what it felt like, and not gave a shit what anybody said, not gave a shit what there's some kid from out of town, he's got no shot at this, or whatever. You might have that swirl going on in your head that's saying all these little negative things, trying to keep you down, so to speak. Didn't listen to any of that. And that's essentially how we won the tournament. And I caught another fish 40 minutes, not even 30 minutes later. I caught another fish, about 36-inch fish. Then we switched parts of the river, put the boat in, and put my jet boat on the trailer. Kyle and I went another 40 minutes. We went down another stretch. We were probably an hour into fishing that stretch, and now it's only noon. And Kyle caught like a 40, bigger than mine. I think it was like 43, or mine was 42. His was like 43 or 44, I think. He caught a slob. And it was the most epic fight in the world. The thing was going around the boat. We're going down the rapids. I'm doing the oars, and we landed that fish, and it was just like, holy shit. And I remember Kyle saying, like, he's like, Pogo, you got a horseshoe up your ass. Well, I'm like, he caught the fish at that moment, but he was vibing with me. I was keeping the energy up. I was, we were telling stories, making jokes, laughing. And what I love about Kyle was, when I went back the next year, I got there the first day, and I wanted to catch a fish so bad. Like so we're in the boat, me, him, and Jay Guy, and we're fishing the Chippewa, I think. And I'll never forget, I was probably a half hour in the boat. Jay's rowing, Kyle's in the back. And this is going to relate to this story. And I'm casting, and I'm like, in my head, I'm all negative. I'm like, oh, I got to catch a fish. I got to get that first fish in Wisconsin. Oh, I was going to be there for 6 weeks. Why did I have to catch a fish the first half hour? And Kyle picked up on me. He saw what I was, he saw my energy, he saw where my focus was. He saw how off he felt me. I was off. And he's like, Pogo, just chill. Like, you don't have to catch fish. Just chill out. He said something very funny. I can't repeat it here because there's kids that watch it. He says, focus on this instead of that, what you're focusing on, because it's not working. And sure enough, relaxed, took a breath. Of course, I did catch a fish that day. Not of course, but I did catch a fish that day, and it was just a reminder of where your head's at, and how we create our reality. So that's how we won that tournament. That's how I approached a lot of days on the water. Um, I did get into like a little in my life a little about Native American culture, which they now call First Nation. I guess that's a proper term, like First Nation culture. Where I read some books when I was younger about, and even today I've gotten reminded in the last few months with some spiritual people that I hang out and talk with about paying respects to Mother Earth and paying respects to the fish, and the water and the air we breathe, and the grass and the birds and the trees. So a lot of time, not a lot of times, like especially towards the tail end of my career, Pike and Musky career, every time I'd go to the water and before I put my boat in, I would pray. I'd literally, say a prayer, and I would say, Mother Earth and these beautiful fish that we're about to go ahead, play with and have fun with. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for letting us be in your living room. And I come here with respect and love, all the respect and all the love in the world for what you offer. And I think that made a difference. And I heard an analogy recently. This just came up. Somebody was talking about this very subject, and it's like if somebody broke into your living room and started just walking all over, throwing things around, making noise, you would feel intruded, right? You would feel like, wow, that doesn't feel good. And the same thing with Mother Nature, the same thing with wildlife, the same thing with Mother Earth and this planet that we, inhabit. And, they have feelings too, in a way, and there's energy behind that. And there's all kinds of stuff you could probably watch on the internet. If you do go on the internet, I would suggest you go to Twitter, X, they call it now. There's a lot of really good information on there, people that aren't getting censored, and find any subject, but there's a lot of good spiritual teachers on there that talk about Mother Earth and the land that we inhabit, and the fish and the water and the air and the ground and the trees. And so I was always paying respect to what I was about to embark upon, whatever river or lake I was fishing. I did it when I was younger, believe it or not, and that's a whole nother story. But then as I started to go back into my journey after my divorce of like meditating, visualizing, reading stuff and reading stuff and watching stuff on social media around positive thinking and believing in yourself, and you can change your reality. Learn how to, instead of take an experience, that a bad experience, instead of being a victim, just witness it and learning to process it, and don't attach yourself to that event. That's who you are for the rest of your life, that kind of stuff. And it really went a super, super long way with fishing for pike and muskie. And that's what I was saying like earlier about the fish of 10,000 casts, right? So if you believe it's going to be a fish of 10,000 casts, well, it's most likely going to be, because that's what you're believing. And one person that I would suggest, if you guys want to go on YouTube and just Google her name, this is the best person of all of them that I found over the 25 years I've been into this. The law of attraction is just type in Abraham-Hicks. So like Abraham Lincoln and then a dash and then Hicks, Hicks, Abraham Hicks. She has a ton of videos. I've been to probably 10 or 12 of her workshops in my life. And I've listened to countless thousands of hours of her audio tapes back when there was cassette tapes, when we didn't have the internet like we do now. But it's all for free now. You can get it right on YouTube. So, that was a big part of my success in fishing. And also when I had people in my boat, and I know Dave and Rick are like, I know I'm preaching to the choir with some of you guys that are in here. I can't see exactly yet because I got to put my glasses back on, but I'm getting old, 51 years old. But yeah, it was a big part of my, and I don't mean that I was successful or I'm better than anybody. There's so many people that are way more talented than I was, but I'm just sharing my version of my portion of my life within this specific passion of being on the water, being out in nature. But my success, personally, I contribute about 80% of it to meditation and visualization. And you know, visualization, I could break that down for an hour, but you could go on YouTube, find things. You could DM me, email me, text me, call me, whatever. I'm happy to pick up the phone and kind of just bat ideas back and forth about the subject. But I do contribute a lot of my success on the water, with the spiritual side of life, and knowing that like the first step, I think, for a lot of us, from to wake up, like they're all, what's going on in the world right now about disclosure, whether it be what's going on in the government, what's going on with our food, what's going on with our air and our water, all this disclosure. The most important disclosure to me is learning that we have the power within us to be in anything we want to be, in a powerful way. Like, we hold the power as human beings. Like I said earlier, I truly feel that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, right? I'm sure you've heard that cliche statement before, but it's pretty powerful. And if you listen to Abraham Hicks, she'll talk a lot about it, your source energy, and we come from God, love, whatever you want to call it, and we're just projected into this body, a small portion of it. So when you learn how to tap into your source energy, to your higher self, and use the power of focus, and the power of belief, and the power of positive expectation, and literally believe in what you're about to create. I'm not doing a great job explaining that, and I didn't want to go into the detail of how you do it, because I could be here for 6 hours. But just know that we create our own reality. We create everything down to the minuscule thing. There's what Abraham talks a lot about is, and this would be relative to fishing, and especially pike and muskie. I'm drinking a Via. My wife got me on these seltzer waters. I drink shit out of seltzer waters now. But is how we create our reality, the law of attraction, and the power that we have to do that. And I kind of got off track because I need a sip of drink of water there, but I think you know what I'm getting at. So, the amount of the amount of success was, I do agree, I do believe that a lot of it was from the spiritual aspect of all this, and then and reflecting on that over the years, with winning the tournament that year, or just having stellar days in the boat, with when people weren't having stellar days. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times on the Housatonic River up in Connecticut it was blown out. Like, most people were like, "Fuck that! I'm not going on the water." And we would go out there and we'd catch fish, but there's one gentleman that I know may not be listening, but his name's Devin. He's one that taught me a lot about, or showed me actually, a lot about. It doesn't matter the conditions. I did, because I had a belief. This is a good example. This was back in like 2018. I met Devin, so I was already like 7-8 years into chasing these fish, and guiding part-time till full-time, and I was like, well, I don't know. You can't. Who's going to go out in January and catch a fish? Who's going to go out in January and catch a pike or muskie? Like, they don't. These fish. How would you catch a pike, muskie, or pike when the water's 34 degrees and it's freezing out? Well, I went out with Devin a few times, and I was like, holy shit, this works. So, like, we're catching fish, and I had a belief system my whole life, from whatever society or whatever people told me, that I had probably no clue what the frig they were talking about. Obviously, that you can't catch fish in January. You can't catch a pike or muskie. Why would you go pike, or you go ice fishing in January, right? Well, when he showed me through his actions and beliefs, his beliefs and his results, I was like, well, this works. So there you go, Pogo. Like, you have this belief stuck in your head that you can't catch pike or muskie in January. I know in certain parts you can't because it freezes, but you could do this. And then the next season, I'm like, it was like late November, December, and if it was not too bad in January, and then February, if there wasn't ice, I was having like hardcore clients, and even myself, my wife, and friends were going out fishing when people are probably building snowmen. But I changed my belief, and I saw what the possibilities were, and then I lined up with it, and it worked out. So, again, that's a little bit about what I feel is the most important sauce. I don't think I did a great job kind of like with the flow of this, but that's something I wanted to share as far as the secret sauce, which we could talk about that a little bit more. The other thing I wanted to I did talk about superstition. So, I was always a believer and superstitious when it came to fishing, because I knew people and myself were labeling it as superstitious, but I knew I was just really in setting a belief, and then that belief turned into results. So before I look at the comments, I just wanted to see what else I wanted to talk about. I talked about praying and giving thanks to being outdoors and the fish and the environment and Mother Earth. Oh yeah, then I got another quick story. I'll tell you a few quick stories about how deliberately creating an experience or manifesting an experience by visualization and meditation. I got a really good story here, but I want to see what Dave's mindset is more important than location, in my opinion. Absolutely, Dave. Tommy Shank, what up, Pogo? Art and myself are tuning in. Hey, Art, I always say it out loud. The fish, Rick always says out loud, say to the fish, let's party. That's awesome. I love that. Cat Cole, you were the one that shared Abraham Hicks with me. I always appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, so thank you guys for the comments, and thank you guys so much for being here. You guys don't have to be doing this on a Saturday night. Like, it means the world to me. But I'll tell you one more story, and then I'll wrap up a little bit here. So when I met Kate, she's very much into spirituality and meditating, and just how we're spiritual beings, have a physical experience. We create our reality. Words are just noise. It's the energy between the energy we give off. And we are co-creating, like this world. We're all put here together in this hot mess, especially what's going on these days. And we are co-creating with other human beings. I once heard this, and I always use this. I use this every day in my life, especially in the last few years. And then when I was on the water with customers and friends, I lived by this mantra. And I forgot where I heard it, but I heard it it's probably my 30s. So it was, probably 10 years before I got into this sport of Pike and Musky specifically, was people don't always remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And boy, is that powerful. And, somebody could say all the right things and have all the right fancy words and flashy and articulate and sound educated, but you could feel for them if they're full of shit or not. Like, you could feel for them what their true intention is really, for the most part. So when I was in the boat with people, Dave was great at this. Rick was great at this. Kat is great at this. All of us that spent together time on the water is just being appreciative, being appreciative of each other, being appreciative of the moment. And, I couldn't tell you how many, again, this is not about me. So I'm just giving you my examples. I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own butt, but I couldn't tell you how many times I had repeat customers and customers, and that some of them became really good friends, actually, where they would always say, dude, like, Pogo, man, I just stepped in your boat and I feel good. I don't even care if I catch a fish, but it's great that we do, and just remembering that as we interact with each other, especially what's going on in the world right now. People don't always remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I kind of live by that, and just uplifting each other. I knew if I was in the boat with a customer, I'm using customers a lot, and because friends are a little bit different, the energy, but same thing, where, if somebody was having an off moment, I could feel them. I didn't always do this perfectly, but a lot of the times I consciously try to distract them with laughter or a story, or, hey, let's take a gentleman's break. That type of thing we call the gentleman's breaks. I'd have 2 or 3 cigarettes, they'd have whatever snacks, or we take a lunch break and just diffuse the situation. Just let the energy kind of get out of the boat. I got home from fishing trips, dude, and I've saged my boat. Like sage, it helps clear off negative energy and stuff. Like, I've saged my boat before. I remember having like a 2 or 3 day dry spell, and I'm like, something's going on here, like, blah, blah, blah. And I went out and I saged the boat, and I had a trip the next day. And sure enough, we put like 3 or 4 pike in the boat the next day. So I'm like, that worked. But yeah, so just like uplifting each other, and I would try to make sure that they were having an experience that was enjoyable. The fish is a byproduct. I knew from understanding the law of attraction and understanding how we create our reality, that if I can get their baseline energy and baseline, vibration higher, we know what that feels like: love, laughter, happiness, joy, bliss, right? Get that energy higher, That's when you start to create. That's when the things that you put out to the world that you want, or you want to put out to that fishing tournament, or that outing, that big weekend you got coming up with the boys that you do once a year. Like, when you're feeling good and you're vibing and your energy's high, your vibration's higher, fish show up, and I did hear this too, which was, I have a friend, this is going to be a little bit, you guys might think I'm really weird, but I believe in it. I have a friend, Daniel, that his name's Daniel Scranton. He's a channel. He channels, whatever, universal knowledge, universal source energy, like Abraham Hicks does. And I had a session with him. This was back in like 2015 or 16. And it's like a paid hour, like a therapist, but he's channeling. And it was about me and my personal growth and what I was going through in my life. Not a psychic by any means, but I do think some of those guys are pretty good sometimes. But I asked him about fishing. Here I am talking to this like spiritual, like guru dude who's channeling. And I asked him about fishing. And he said something that always stuck with me. And it goes back to what Rick was saying, like, hey, fish, let's party, right? Which is, he's like, talk, like telepathically, put the energy out there around the water, like, hey, fish, let's play together. Let's have some fun. They're co-creating with us, from what he explained, right? Like, they know what we're doing. They're not, as much as they're just savages eating, they have a non-physical side to them, obviously, as well, that they want to play with us, right? And I think by paying the respect when I show up in the water, thanking Mother Earth for giving me this opportunity, thanking and asking for permission from the environment I was about to go in. Thank you for letting me be here. I come here with respect and love, and I will treat you that way. And thank you for this opportunity. And then kind of like talking to the fish a little bit, like, hey, let's do this. Let's have some fun, because I am gonna be as careful as possible with you. I just want to make you famous. That's what we used to say, Rick. I just want to take a picture and make you famous to the fish, and we're gonna put you right back in the water, happy go lucky. So, kind of like that whole combination of that experience, I noticed over my career with Pike and Musky, like this, my success, as I was more in alignment with what I'm sharing with you guys right now, my success went up. And it wasn't like public success. It's just a father and son coming out for the day and fishing, that one day a year they fish together, and making sure that I am putting not only all the hardware in place for them and all the logistics of where we're fishing and how we're going to fish that day and based upon conditions, but that was important. But what I'm sharing with you right now was what I tried to like really make sure that I was spot on with, and taking all these little concepts that I'm sharing with you and making sure that energetically that was what's going on. And that's where I was. Because if I was off and I was ornery, tired, hungry, whatever, if I just was off or negative, or like, I don't like these people, I got to spend 8 hours with them, like, I'm doing them a huge disservice. I was doing myself a huge disservice. And I know that I was not going to create what I wanted to create for them and co-create with them with the fish. And boy, did that work, man. I would turn some weird, sour people into some happy-go-lucky people by the end of the day. That was my goal, without being pushy or like, oh, you got to be positive. Shut up. Don't say anything negative. But like really just working with them and with the unspoken word, and raising them up a little bit. And then, because when you're on the boat with somebody for 8 hours, and that's like, they do that twice a year, that's a big day for them. That's like they're sacrificing time off from work. They're paying good money. They're jacked up. They can't sleep at night. They're the night before maybe, and they're looking at you like, you're the pro. We're supposed to catch some fish, bro. Right? So there's a little bit of pressure there. So that's the way I kind of would go about it, because what Abraham teaches, or what law of attraction teaches, is the universe doesn't know, hey, yes, I want this, but keep this away from me. And what I mean by that is, if you kind of are sending the message to the world, the universe, I want this, but I don't want this, right? You're mixing that in your intention, you're mixing that in your vibration, and the universe doesn't know what to give you. So there's no such thing as get that away from me. Because what I always used to say was, and I still do today in my personal life, is the story that we tell, right? So it's like, when you talk to somebody and the first thing they start telling you, so let's even talk to somebody in a couple of months or a couple of weeks, or a friend or whatever. We all have this friend, and I'm sure I've done it too, where you pick up the phone or you get together with them, and the first 15 minutes, they're just telling you about everything that's going wrong in their life. That's fine, right? I'm here for you. I'm totally listening to you. I'll support you any way I can. If you just need to air, I'll just listen. But the way that we create our reality is by the story we tell, that the story that we're constantly telling. Because what happens is, the constant telling of that story becomes a belief. That belief then it's ingrained in your subconscious. Your emotions and your subconscious is wrapped around that, and that's what you're emanating. So there's no, hey, get this away from me. I want this, but I don't want this. If you're saying, well, I want to catch 3 muskies today, but I don't want to get skunked. I want to catch 3 muskies, but I don't want to get skunked. I want to catch 3 muskies, but I don't want to get skunked. It's a mixed signal. We are literally like signals. We're giving off a signal, and everything has a particular really focused vibration, just like if you're tuning in the old school radios. And then, the result of that reality to come back into or the result of that manifesting to come into your reality also has a particular vibration. So you have to have those 2 vibrations lined up. But if you have a bunch of vibrations and you're like this and like this thing's trying to chase, doesn't know where to go. So, what I would try to do would be, like even the tournament, for example, like, I knew it probably took about 5 fish to win that tournament, right? 3 on the first day or 2 on the first day and 3 on the second day. And I remember talking in my head in my meditations and with Kyle was, we're going to catch 5 fish. Like there was no, like, we're going to catch 5 fish, but I don't want to get skunked. It was like, no, Britt, we're catching 5 fish. And that was the intention. And that's kind of what I kept on telling myself out loud in my head. And then if I felt like negative for a second, I would just pull back. I would, like Kyle taught me that day when we were on the river, just step back, think about something else. Let's talk about something completely different. And I'll give you an example of this, and we can end it here shortly. But Kate's birthday. So Tommy Shank, if he's listening, he's a big part of this day. He rolled out the red carpet for us that year out in Wisconsin. So it was Kate's birthday. She came out. I guided out there for about 6-7 weeks. She came out for about 5 days, and her birthday was on the Sunday. I think it was the day before she was leaving. So we fished like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday was her birthday. We got skunked. We got skunked. We got skunked for 2 days. The first 2 days she was here. I don't know what happened the third day. Kate, did you catch a small fish? What's that? 3 days skunked. So we got skunked 3 days. My vibration thing wasn't lined up, right? We did have some shitty conditions. So, sometimes you can't control that. Obviously, the fish are going to get lockjaw. They're going to get lockjaw sometimes. But so she was saying all week while she was there, or the 4 or 5 days before, I want to catch my first figure 8 muskie on the fly. First one. And she was like, on her birthday, yeah, right? Sunday on her birthday. So I want to catch a figure 8, my first figure 8 muskie on my birthday, which is this upcoming Sunday. We got skunked 3 days in a row. And Kate was applying what I'm kind of sharing because she knows it better than me. And she was telling the story. I'm going to catch a figure 8 muskie on my birthday. She was visualizing it. She was talking about how great it's going to be and what it's going to feel like and all this fun stuff. So skunked 3 days in a row. Then that Sunday we went out and we're going down the Flambeau. Grace was behind us, a gal Grace that we fished with and friends with, and Kate's in the front of the boat going downstream, down the river, down the Flambeau. And we're probably about maybe 40 minutes into the trip. And hours in. Peanut Gallery said we were hours in. So we were hours into the trip, and we're coming down this one section where there's some rapids. Like the rapids were like 50 yards ahead, 100 yards ahead. And I knew it was a good stretch. So I'm rolling the boat, keeping thing, talking to Grace, kind of appreciating the moment, trying not to focus. We got to catch a fish today because we got skunked 3 days in a row. I was trying to practice what I preach. And Kate was doing the same thing. I'm watching her, and she's laser focused. I mean, for not to be sexist, but as a woman throwing a Tommy Shank Chippewa River rod 8-weight, which is the best rod in the world, in my opinion. And if his one pieces for Pike and Musky are by far the best. Like, I don't even need to do a dissertation on his fly rods. Just buy a Tommy Shank fly rod. You won't regret it. And I can tell you the 17,000 reasons why, but the best rod in the world. Anyway, so I'm watching her fish. She's figure eighting. She's focused for 2 hours, as she said, fishing, figure eighting, on it. All of a sudden, I hear her. She goes, fish, right? So figure 8. She goes, it missed it. She didn't skip a beat. It wasn't no rookie moves, pulling the fly out of the water, getting too excited where she started going too fast with the figure 8. Rolls around the figure 8 again. Missed it again. Comes back around the third time, the fish slams it, and it was just lights on or lights off. It was just like fish flashing all over the place. We're about to hit this rapid that's now 15 yards ahead of me, so now I've got to drop the anchor, try to get the net out, and land this fish. She's so excited. The last thing I wanted to do was blow the fish, And sure enough, she landed the fish, which I want to show you this. So, this is just another example, and I have like dozens of these stories. It's just another example. I'm going to find you the photo, but it's just another example of how we create our reality, and how to take your power back, and how to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And it works. And here, I'm going to show you her photo here. That was 18, right? Yeah, it was 18. Yeah, here we go. 2018. Was it maybe it was 19, huh? Was it 19? Okay. Let's see. 2019. Let me do this. And her celebration, if I could find the video, yeah, they'll love it. You're not going to see it. Well, here we go. Let's see. Here we go. 2018. Here it is right here. So that was her birthday figure 8 muskie on the Flambeau, October 20th, 2019. Look at that smile. That's a big fish. Landed it like a pro, figure 8'd it like a pro, visualized it for 2 or 3 days on her birthday. That's the only thing she wanted for her birthday. She didn't worry about for 3 days. Like, why am I not catching any fish? This sucks. Why am I doing this? These fish don't eat. I don't know how to catch a muskie. She just focused on what she wanted and what it was going to feel like on her birthday. And that was probably to date her biggest muskie. Absolutely. So, and I do I have the video? I know you'll kill me, but okay. Anyways, the video is hysterical the way she celebrated. It looked like she had Tourette's and autism at the same time, slapping her knee. But that's just another example of just focusing on what you want and why you want it. You don't have to worry about where it's going to come from, because it will show up. So let's see what we got here, Rick. Yeah. Yeah, I needed this tonight. Oh, Kat says she needed this more than tonight. That's awesome. I hope you're doing awesome. Yeah, Tommy makes the best sticks. His magic cabin. Yeah, he does. Doggy daddy. Yeah. And that's Tom, if you're still listening, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the people, if you go to my YouTube channel and watch For the Love of Fishing, what ties us together, that was kind of like my little stamp on the world for the few people who watched it about what this sport is all about. And it, For the Love of Fishing, what ties us together, pun intended, right? Like, the relationships like Dave Huff, Rick, Kat, Tommy, just so many people that, Josh Schmelzer, Bam Bam, those guys that are out in, they're out there fishing the tournament right now, the Treelands tournament. Like, just the people that you meet and the relationships you forge in the sport, or any kind of sport in the fishing world, is just amazing. I've never met, both male and female, a bunch of greater, beautiful humans that are really not, just out for themselves, but out for, enjoying life together and uplifting each other and having each other's back. Like, literally, was the most amazing journey. But so I don't know if this helps. Kat, thank you for the perspective that you needed this tonight. So if that's what this ends up being, like I said in my post the other night, if only one person showed up, then, and if it helped, great. If no one showed up, I'm not foreign to talking to myself. I've been, I've talked to myself many times in my life. So if I sat here and talked to myself, but yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Thanks for listening. If anybody watches this, it starts about minute 37, because I started the live stream early just to make sure that the audio and the video worked. But that's it, man. Pogo Pike, over and out. And thank you guys for being here. And if anybody has any questions after they watch this, feel free to hit me up. Again, the highlights of my kind of message tonight was, we create our own reality. Respect the waters, respect the fish. I always said a prayer. I still do when I go out in the water, thanking for the opportunity. And hey, I'm coming into your living room. I come with, with all due respect and appreciation, and we'll treat you accordingly, so to speak, Mother Earth. So, that, and like I said, taking our power back, we create our own reality. And the beautiful thing about, fishing and chasing fish like pike and muskie with the stigma behind it, how hard it is. And it is. There's a learning curve. You got to get through all that. But once you get through that learning curve, and then once you get dialed in, and then you start to step back and appreciate the moments, appreciate the opportunity, and learn how to use your imagination and the power that you have to create your reality. Fishing I always looked at, especially later in my life, as it's the playground to practice this stuff. Like you might be looking for a better job, or more money, or better health, or like I was saying earlier, you could apply this to any aspect in your life, and I tried to. Like I said, there was times in my life where I didn't, and I paid the consequences. Went off the rails a little bit, in life, and you kind of have a reset, and you're like, shit, that reset. I could, hey Gordo, that reset, or that bottom, so to speak, sometimes comes up in life, to reset us, to refocus us, and it's a gift. I think Gordo's saying hi. Hi, Gordo. It's a gift because it helps you refocus, and it forces you to refocus and look at really where you're putting your attention, how you're living, how you're treating yourself, more importantly, and then you just bounce up from there. And fishing is I found to be like a playground for what I'm talking about tonight, what you guys are driving in on here. Like, it's a playground, and then you could take these same concepts, and apply it to any aspect of your life. And I think the biggest tip that I can give tonight, and I know like the secret sauce, so to speak, as I was kind of building it up a little bit, trying to be funny, is meditation and visualization. Meditation and visualization will change your life. I started meditating at about 25 years old. I'm 51 now. When I'm on point in life and things are going well, we still have bad days. Obviously, things come up. Sometimes a tragedy happens, or someone passes away, or you get fired for no reason, whatever. When I'm on the meditation and visualization game, life is just way more enjoyable. It happens way more effortlessly. It's more fun. The things that you're desiring are coming more effortlessly. When the times that I didn't, and just got away from that and got in my head, and started playing mental gymnastics and trying to take control of everything in my life, and just thought it to the ground, and it doesn't work. So meditation, visualization, being a good person, lifted up people around you. I'll end with this too, is sometimes we have some history, or some past, or some trauma in our life. We're so easily able to forgive other people, but sometimes we're not able to forgive ourselves. And I think we do ourselves a huge disservice, where I had to go through a process where, at one point in my life, where I had to forgive myself. I had to kind of go through this internal journey of going processing what I went through, processing the stuff, getting a therapist, all that fun stuff, where I call it fun stuff, but all that stuff to kind of clear it out so that you can move on. Like I always hear by some of the teachers I follow, like, life doesn't happen at you, it happens for you. So if you look at it like, this is happening for me, not to me, then it's like, well, why is this happening? Why is this showing up in my life? Where do I need to maybe refocus? Or, hey, all this good stuff is happening, then this is just as good a reflection of where my head and heart's at. So so I can go on and on and on, but I just will read a last comment or two and say goodnight to you all. Dave Huff, gonna have to come, dude. Yeah, he knows the Huffy dance, absolutely. All right, yeah, absolutely, dude. Come on down. We'd love to have you. Have your wife. We got a spare bedroom, spare bathroom. You're all set. But thank you guys for being here, and I really appreciate it. And I got to figure out how to make this thing live or recorded or whatever I do here at the end of the night. But love you guys. Thanks for listening, and have a great fall. And go catch some pike and musky, and focus on what you want, not where it's going to come from and when it's going to come. And don't worry about, don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you do want. Meditate and visualize. Meditate and visualize, and watch what happens.